So Massie has gotten in a fight, like a personal fight with the president. And unfortunately, I think it has gotten personal. I should say I don't agree with Massie's more libertarian than I am. But of all the members other than you of the Congress that I know a lot of them, he's the most principled. He's also a thoroughly decent man, like actually. And his personal life, and I know a lot about it, is like one of the most impressive things I've ever heard. He is self-reliant in the most American sense. This is a guy who lives off grid in a house he built himself, and every one of his votes is a vote on principle. So I don't know how you couldn't admire a guy like that. I get that he annoys the president personally, got it. But I don't think there are many people in the country who live out Donald Trump's own stated principles more precisely than Thomas Massie does. What the hell is going on that he is a target, but Lindsey Graham has an endorsement? And by the way, I just want to say clearly, I will do everything I possibly can to make sure Lindsey Graham is not reelected. Not because I like Lindsey Graham personally, he's a super charming, nice guy. But if Lindsey Graham continues to get elected, then the whole MAGA thing is totally fake. It's just fake. So like, what is this? So Massie.
Hello, everybody. It is about 10:30 Eastern Standard Time here in East Tennessee. And it is Friday, October 24th. Last weekend before Halloween next Friday. So hope everybody's enjoying this fall. But I started out with that interview of MTG by Tucker Carlson because that's true. You got this battle with Massie. You got this battle on MTG with MAGA. Now, there are a lot of MAGA people I like on X and social media types and whatever, but sometimes and then there's Trump, and Trump is the leader of MAGA. Is he perfect America first all the time? No. Is he perfect in certain things? No. Do I understand there's some battles going behind the scenes and we don't get to see everything? Yes. But Massie, Tucker Carlson is correct. First of all, he shows you what kind of person he is because of what he just said about living off the grid and the house he built himself, whatever. Yes. But let's just take budgets. He voted no against everything because it created $2 trillion deficits. So he voted no again because it still did the same thing. Now you have a little tariff angle and different things, and the deficit still came in low. But listen, 1.8 trillion versus 2 trillion is still compounding to our debt and still too high. And Massie's standing on that principle. He's also America first because he voted with MTG's bill and the only other Republican to vote for it when pulling the funds from all that aid to Israel. Okay? And it is about the influence that a small foreign country has in the United States and our vested interest about what goes on there. I'm not going to make this a whole Middle Eastern video, but the point is that he's bucking his party's trend because of principle. Okay, he is more likely to vote to take down federal programs that we don't like. He is more likely to not go to war than other Republicans are. Okay, so in some aspects, he's more MAGA than MAGA. So what a lot of times people do is because if Trump chooses a direction, there are a lot of people who just blindly think that Trump is 100% right all the time, and that is not true. Okay, sometimes and I understand sometimes he makes a decision, okay, he's not going to wave a magic wand and get his way. So sometimes he's compromising, sometimes other stuff. But Massie's representing his constituency on what he ran on. Now he's comparing it to Lindsey Graham. Now I want to throw in New Jersey into this mix as well. Trump's not going to go, from what I understand, he's being told, don't go to New Jersey because you're going to waste political capital. But he's going to waste political capital going to war with Thomas Massie in Kentucky, as well as supporting Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, folks, is not going to win the primary against Danz. He's not. All Danz is going to beat him. Okay? He is booed off the stage. I don't care how much. So he's wasting more political capital on Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, who votes for all these Biden judges that have been a problem. Lindsey Graham, who votes for all these big spending bills. Lindsey Graham, who praised Joe Biden. Lindsey Graham, who wants to go to war with Russia, who wants to go to war with Venezuela, who wants to go to war with everybody. who does not represent our values. He doesn't even have kids married. Okay, this is not a guy who represents the America First MAGA movement. Now we have someone who can beat him, who has been more loyal to Trump and MAGA before Lindsey Graham had the choice to. Okay, Lindsey Graham is kissed his butt for expediency, and as well as to have his ear to be nice to him so he can influence him. That is who Lindsey Graham is. So I am going to probably be supporting Massie, and I'll probably be supporting, and I'm definitely supporting Dan's against Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is so bad, in my opinion. In the general, if he got the primary, I would not vote in that slot. Okay? I would not vote in that slot. Okay? So that's how loathsome Lindsey Graham is. So, I just wanted to show that clip, okay? Because, if Trump, basically the formula is if Trump goes off of what I consider the America First populist movement, and I've been that kind of a Republican, look, behind me, Buchanan, that's 1992 bumper sticker, and 96, okay? If he goes off that rail and makes the wrong decision, I don't just blindly support that decision. Thomas Massie will, okay? So, as well, and he's a little more libertarian. While I support the tariffs more than Massie or Rand Paul do, okay, I still in line with them 90% of the time, especially when it comes to foreign policy. I'm more in line in terms of the size of the deep state bureaucratic and wars and all that stuff, okay? All right, so that's it. I can disagree a little bit on a few issues, but when your core principles are more MAGA than the guy you're trying to put in, it's ridiculous. So I wanted to point that out to you. And New Jersey, go to Ciattarelli. It is tight, folks. It is tight. Something is going on in New Jersey, as well as Virginia a little bit now. So, Trump should go. Okay? If you're willing to do that for Graham, then go. If you're not willing to do that for Graham because you don't want to waste political capital, then you have more of a leg to stand on to say, I'm not going to New Jersey. It was so close last time. Okay? But anyway, so moving on. All right. New Jersey. Vote early, GOP, New Jersey. Don't wait until Election Day. That is key. Do not wait. Do not wait. Oops, I forgot on Election Day. Oops, my kid's sick home from school on Election Day. Oops, I get into a car accident on the way to work. Anything can happen. Oops, my Aunt Tilly had a stroke. Vote early. I always prefer vote early in person. Okay, the mail-in ballots, that's my person. But if the mail-in's the only way you can do it early. Okay, anything is better than Election Day. Unless you know, for whatever reason, that you can't make it. That you're going to make it. You know what I mean? So, here you go. Early voting starts Saturday, October 25th, tomorrow, through November 2nd. Check your local voting locations Monday through Saturday, blah, blah, blah. Wake up, New Jersey. So many Democrats up north are endorsing Republicans. How many more of them feel the direction for New Jersey is wrong? Wake them all up and vote. Okay? So it's giving you a list of Democrat mayors who voted. Now, see this up here in the West? This is like Passaic County and all that, okay? Trump did very well in there. It's working class. Bergen's in the East. It's very wealthy, very educated class. It is lean Dem. But the other areas, the rest of it, they're working class. A lot of Hispanics. It's where Patterson is, Passaic County. Trump did well there. Ancestral Democrats, working class ancestral Democrats came out and voted for Trump in the general election. It's what tightened New Jersey so much. And he won these bizarre counties that no Republican has won in years. Okay? This is that case. They see the momentum. That's why these Democrats who are not willing to become Republicans yet, and these voters aren't willing to become Republican yet, but if they're willing to come out in a second election after the presidential, which did not really happen after 2016, Trump's first term, that means this coalition still has a chance to succeed if they continue to deliver on these populist things. Okay? The peace plan in Gaza, whether it works, not discussing that, but that is a peace initiative. That's what people want to see. People want to see food prices coming down. By the way, we'll get to that, but the inflation number came in below expected this morning, year over year. Expected 3.1, it came in at 3%. Okay? Mortgage interest is the lowest it's been in a year today. Okay? So the rates are coming down. So we have pretty good economics going. Gas, the lowest it's been in a year. National average below $3. Okay, so people are seeing these numbers because he's delivering. Deficit, well, not enough, has come down a little bit. Okay, things are being done at levels. So good things are happening. And illegal immigration, regardless of what you hear from the mainstream establishment GOP on the illegal immigration issue. But look at Starr County and Zapata County along the Rio Grande River, voting for Trump, heavily Democrat, heavily Hispanic. Like we're talking 80, 90%. Why? Because they see the effects of the illegal immigration, not just the effects once they're here, but the actual trafficking and the crime associated with it and everything. And they've had it. And it affects these working class communities because the majority of these people go to the working class communities and get in their emergency rooms, right? They're not in the Upper East Side in the Ritchie part. They're not on the North Shore of Long Island. They're not in New Haven, Connecticut, right? Or Newport, Rhode Island. No. Martha's Vineyard. No. That's not where they're going. They're going to these communities and they're strain on their hospitals, their schools. These people see it. So if you continue the course and do the things that created Trump's coalition, you win and you start to expand, and then you start to make these people Republicans. You pick the right candidates, you build the party up, you bring people who are, even if they were used to be Democrats, in, you're running for city council, you're going to be the committee man for this part of town. That's how you do it. Okay? And then we could create great populist, center-right, conservative parties in these areas because there's not a big Republican Party there. We don't have to contend with an old guard establishment who wants to go back to Bush and Romneyism. All right? So there's an opportunity here big time, but not just to win the election, but to build whatever. So if you're in New Jersey, go out and vote. Go out and vote early. All right? So moving on. Here we go. So this is from Senator Tuberville. Okay? Let me move this up a little bit so it's in there. All right. I have a theory about why Democrats are refusing to open the government. Virginia has a gubernatorial election in 2 weeks. Thousands of bureaucrats work in D.C., live in Virginia, and are currently furloughed due to the government shutdown. Far left Fairfax County has seen a surge in early voting compared to 2021. Is Senator Schumer keeping the government close to try to help woke Abigail Spanberger across the finish line? First of all, Deep State loves Spanberger. Okay? That's one. Two, Virginia, because that's what he's saying, where these bureaucrats live, whatever, want the state to be run by Democrats. It's right outside of D.C. and everything like that. So you keep it close. These people can make phone calls. They can. They have the time to go vote in person and vote early. They can go and work and volunteer and get out the vote. Could be. Because if they're afraid, if the Democrats lose this election, even if it's close, that is going to send shockwaves through the Democratic Party and establish, because that's not supposed to happen. It is a blue state, a light blue state, but it is a blue state, and the tradition of Virginia going to the opposite party that just won the presidential. And you buck that trend, that's a problem in a blue state. Well, even if it's a red state, but it's a blue state. Okay? That's a problem. And if you win in New Jersey and Virginia, and you do well in the House of Delegates, Democrats are going to have a problem going into the midterms. Big time. There's nothing you say. And that's without the redistricting going on. All right? So that's an interesting theory. I totally would believe it. Why would I not believe it? Well, because while everybody in 2020 was watching the Mercy ship going to New York Harbor on the news during the COVID pandemic, okay, Mark Elias was already filing lawsuits to change election laws in March of that year. Okay? And I'm not saying Mark Elias designed the COVID vaccine, but I'm saying they saw an opportunity. Do not let a crisis go to waste. That's what they're doing. That's what they could be doing here. Oh, well, since it's closed anyway, let's take it past these elections and make sure we win the governor's race in Virginia. Okay? So that's a good theory. It's very possible. All right. So I just gave you the inflation and mortgage and gas numbers just before my little rant there, but whatever. This is one I always follow, is the manufacturing, because I think that's key for the United States to get back manufacturing. Kansas City Fed manufacturing activity picks up slightly in October as both durable and non-durable sectors improve. New export orders was one, or that, I think is a little typo, that didn't grow as the trade wars drag on. But outlook improved considerably from September. That's good. That's right, several months now. Up. Okay? So that's key. That's what we want. That's one of the reasons for these tariffs. Oh, it's too expensive to import it. Might as well bring it back so I don't have to pay a tariff and have Americans make it. Imagine that. Okay? Then we shrink our budget deficit, increase our GDP. That's the formula. Okay? Now, back to politics again, okay, with the maps. So I just mentioned the maps, okay? Breaking, the red state of Indiana has the chance to pass the congressional map for the 2026 midterms. Shift, Republicans +2, Democrats -2. There's no excuse. It can't be done. Make sure your local Indiana senator knows redistricting is a must. Or we'll lose ground to the Democrats with blah, 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 blah. Okay, so there's several, like 5 Republican state senators that are throwing up their hands in the state senate in Indiana. We got to put pressure on them to get this done. North Carolina has passed the new map, passed by the House, passed by the state senate, does not need Stein to sign it. This legislation does not require the governor of North Carolina cannot veto it. It's done. We got Texas, done. Florida's, we'll see what goes on there. You got Ohio, you got whatever, you got DeWine in Ohio, so who the heck knows. But, with Indiana there, okay. Now, because we're expecting California, because I understand there's ads all over the place to throw money in it to get 5 Republican seats out. So we have to make up the 5. Well, people say, well, why'd we start this if we're after that? Because when you look at the states and you look at how the voting is in those states, and then you look at how many seats they are, this being Illinois, California, New Jersey, the Democrats have already done this on their side. This Republican effort offsets that and puts them more in par. Okay? Illinois, what is it? 3 Republican seats? Republicans always get over 40% of the vote there, and Trump only lost the state by 6 points. I'm sorry, 8 points. It was New Jersey that was 6. Okay? And we only have 3 seats to 14? Look at that percentage. That's off. I don't expect it to mirror the percentage of the vote. 25 to 30% of the seats, probably in line. 25 to 35 if you're getting 40, 45%, maybe a 15% lag. I get that. But this is insanely low. California, 9. Republicans get 37, 38% of the vote consistently in that state, statewide. So you think maybe they would have 12 seats? Minimum 15? That would be 22, 26, 27% of the vote, something like that. No, they have 9. And now they're going to take them down to 4. It's going to be under 10% of representatives. So, you know what I mean? So and the Democrats will probably do this again if they got tight, whatever. So you might as well go and even it out. The only thing that I'm worried about me is that you're never going to have a red person elected again in these blue states, and you're never going to have a blue state, whatever, even if it's a 60-40 state. And that's going to have divisional consequences, even more dividing the nation, but that's what happens. So you just move on from that. But these are the actions you have to take to offset what it is. All right? Now, Cook. Now, I'm a big fan of Cook because I get things wrong all the time. They are not a gold standard anymore, but I'm doing this for comparative points. 2018 midterms, their seat projection was 210, 195, 30 toss-ups. And what happened? We got around 195, 190. Mostly all the toss-ups went to the Dems. Okay? In 2026, right now, they give Republicans a 14 edge with 17 toss-ups. Now, Paul LePage wins Maine 2. He gets in. I don't think he officially got in yet. I could be wrong on that. But I think he's going to win Maine 2. And there's reasons for that. So I would already put that in a lean Republic. So I'm looking at 217. Now, throw in this is because of the North Carolina redistricting. So if Indiana does this and whatever, 218, 19. If Cook Political Report has it going in the midterms that Republicans are going to get 218 without any toss-ups, trust me, they're going to get 218. Because they understate Republicans all the time. Okay, and I'm interested to see the New Jersey number this year, because if the New Jersey number is showing, because in Virginia was more in line with traditional, because they have less of a blue collar and type of workforce that made up part of the Trump coalition ceiling was lower because of the demographics of Virginia, but New Jersey wasn't. And if New Jersey gets similar numbers and similar turnouts in these areas that Trump did will to close that gap in New Jersey in this election, that is a good sign, a very good sign for 2026. Okay. All right. Breaking. Pam Bondi announces investigations into Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Lori Lightfoot, and others for targeting ICE agents. Lightfoot is being immediately instructed to preserve all documents related to her actions. It appears she is violating the law. You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent where they live. Pritzker. Same ball game. All right. If you're telling people to arrest our officers, you're impeding. We will charge them. If you think I won't, they haven't met me. We will protect our federal agents. This is insane. So they are enforcing federal law passed by the House and Senate and signed into a law by a president, a former president. They have, and the Arizona case enforces this, the federal government has jurisdiction. I will argue that when the federal government does not enforce federal law, the state has a right to enforce it. Okay? If the federal government, if there's a federal crime, and the federal government declines to prosecute something that they were investigating, and then the state says, well, why aren't you crime them? And they come up, let's say, with some DEI reason. The state says, well, we'll charge them. They can do that because a state can enforce federal law. Okay? Just because it's a federal law doesn't mean a state can do it, because it's the law of the land. And you swear an oath as a county sheriff or cop to uphold the Constitution. Okay? So when they're not doing it, they can do it. In the case of the Biden administration in immigration, not only were they not enforcing federal law, they were just creating things out of thin air, like, a parole program and a protective status program, just bypassing Congress. Okay? Not the laws and the statutes on the books. So the states can do that. In this particular case, they're enforcing it. As a matter of fact, the local cops and the local counties and sheriffs should be enforcing it and working with them, because that's the law of the land. If you don't like it, have elections and get Biden back in. Okay? But this guy is obstructing it. They're obstructing federal law. They are going in the face of federal law, and they're saying maybe we're going to arrest federal agents, obstruct that, or put them in harm's way. Arrest this fat bastard. I don't give a shit. If this is the official position of the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois, absolutely going against federal law and then endangering our agents, arrest them. I don't give a shit about Chicago. Martial law it. You're done. Take over the police force. This is what we're doing. Enough. This is insane. This is insane. You do not have the right to overthrow the statutory law of the United States at the same time to protect the interests of foreign nationals. They are foreign nationals. They are citizens of other countries. Your duty is to uphold and you take the oath to the U.S. Constitution. And in the U.S. Constitution, the House and Senate pass laws, executive branch enforces them. And that's what they're doing. And not only are you just going to stand, it's one thing not to help, which is the point of a sanctuary city, we just won't help, than it is to actually stand in the way and put danger on them. Please, find a way to arrest this fat piece of shit. End of story. All right, moving to foreign. As you know, there's still no government in France. Here we go. But Macron's out there chattering away. But have a look at this line from the British Patriot. Marine Le Pen said, France will take necessary steps. Radical mosques will be closed. Hate preachers will be expelled. Salafism and the Muslim Brotherhood will be liquidated. Le Pen is France's last. Absolutely. They're afraid to do anything because of these tight-knit communities. They're not assimilating. We all understand all this. Okay? But Marine Le Pen is picking up steam. National rally is, let's have these snap elections because there is an ungovernable situation in France right now. So I just like that because she's right on that. And that's her. You can't just mix in all these cultures and expect it, especially one that has a tradition of hostility to you. They're forming their little enclaves and they have a problem and their own government is now afraid of them. You know, it's like you get raped in Sweden or Britain. So in Sweden, if you don't know, this girl who was raped by a illegal immigrant who was here on, what's the term, like a refugee status, okay, raped this girl. And the court in Sweden said he couldn't be deported. And it says while it was a serious crime, it wasn't that serious. Ready for this? Because the duration of the rape was not long enough. I kid you not. You could read it. Go look it up in Sweden. Forget the name. See, they're protecting them more than their own citizens because their ideology to this globalist thing. We get rid of our traditions. We get rid of our languages. We get rid of anything that identifies us as French, British, Swedish, American, our history, whatever. So we can institute this blend of neo-fascistic, corporatist, and globalist ideas, turning us into a QR code. That's what they want. That's why there's no God this. And right now there's an alliance with these Islamic communities that are radical. I'm not saying all of them are radical at all, and you can let a few in here and there if they are assimilating. But when you do this, you're making alliance because they hate our traditions more than they do fear them, right? Even though they'll come after them next, okay? We've seen the communists and the Islamists fight in the past, and that will happen again if they win. Then they'll still go at it with each other, okay? But right now, why put yourself into this? Because they're obsessed with their globalist ideology. All right? So, moving on, a little update. I'm glad no Tomahawk's still going over. We'll see if there's going to be a summit or not, but in Budapest. Also, if you don't know, there randomly, while there's this rule in the EU about whatever, then there's the biggest oil refinery in Hungary is attacked, then a fire in Romania, then Slovakia attacked. Makes you wonder doing it. It's my theory is the Ukrainians with the blessing of NATO, but I digress. So a little battlefield update, battle for Pokrovsk. Anatoly Radov reports that Russian Federation forces are continuing their offensive and expanding their control zone in the city. Yeah, it's well more than half now. During clearing operations, fighters are identifying and destroying isolated groups of Ukrainian soldiers positioned in residential areas. Some militants are attempting to retreat in the morning toward the railway line. Others are remaining in shelters waiting to lay down their weapons and surrender. I believe it. And the next, if you don't know, Kherson, the far west of the line and of the Dnieper River. Okay, so Dnieper River is much more south in Ukraine than the Donbass because it like hooks around like a boomerang. Okay, it touches the like just west and the central part of Novorossiya, northwest of the heart of the Donbass, and then cuts back southwest all the way down. But there's a lot of deltas around there and little islands, whatever. And Russia has held pockets and has taken some of those islands over the last 6 months, but it looks like they're increasing that. So fighting has begun for Kherson. The Russian army controls the industrial zone of Kherson on the left bank of the Dnieper River, as well as the dacha settlements on the islands in the lower reaches of the river, the governor of the region. This allows us to say that the battles for Kherson have already begun, claims the head of the Kherson region. So basically, yeah, so looks like they're opening another front, trying to get a bridgehead there and do that. Now, that is significantly west of Zaporozhye and the Donbass. It's just spreading the line even thinner for Ukraine. And I'm hearing reports that there's some pockets now in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporozhye where they're gaining ground in Zaporozhye. Now, the resistance is just nil. Some drone attacks, whatever, they just not. They concentrated so much in Pokrovsk and Kharkiv region and so forth. So, the defense is there. Because they're trying to hold on to the last of those original defense line of fortifications, because once you get past that, there are no fortifications anymore. And it becomes even more open. So that's why they're really clinging on to that area of the Ukrainian army there. So they're not focused as much. But now if Russia is going to move in there, send in more and more troops, several more brigades across the river, expand that bridgehead, okay, and it's closer. And that's close to Odessa. That's closer to Kiev. That's closer to what was central Ukraine. So this could be a big problem for the Ukrainian armed forces of Ukraine, I should say. But anyway, I just wanted to give you news on that. So it looks like they're opening up another big line of contact. Not to say the Russian ones weren't there and didn't have a few of those islands, but it looks like they're for small operations, but now it looks like they're expanding bigger operations. So we'll keep an eye on the battlefield, Pokrovsk, Konstantinivka. We know they're bypassing Liman in the northern Donetsk. See how that goes as they move towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. So I'll be following that over the weekend. Also, I'll be following any economic news that might come out. And I'm still waiting on that court decision on the tariffs as well. Any political news, polling. See how the early voting starts in New Jersey. Any new polling in Virginia. See how the shutdown continues. So I'll be keeping track of all that. See how well this Gaza deal goes through and any other news on this upcoming peace meeting or whatever. My gut is telling me that if there is no peace meeting, Putin's finally going to cave to his right in Russia and really ramp it up, okay, to just try to end this war, finish taking over those oblasts. And I think they're going to go past that as well because they're going to need that bigger buffer zone, okay? So Dnieper River probably across the board. All right, so anyway, so you can follow me on my X at Patriot Planner 1 and on my Getter at Patriot Planner. And if you like this video, which I hope you did, please follow, like, and share. Have a great weekend, everybody. Go get some pumpkin spice, apple pick. I'm going trick-or-treating in a camp, like a campground tonight. They like decorate it. It's in a huge state park with a huge campground right near my house, so that'll be fun. So it was a harvest festival at my daughter's school yesterday. That was awesome. She dressed up as, because it's a storytelling thing for Charlotte Robertson. If you don't know, she was Fort Nashboro, which was the founding of Nashville, Tennessee. Her husband was a general during the Revolutionary War, 1780. They were out. The fort got attacked. She let the dogs out and bought enough time for the soldiers to get back in the fort and defend it. So she's known as like the who let the dogs out woman, Charlotte Robertson. But that was a great fall day. So enjoy this weekend before these cold winters, because this is kind of the best time of the year between now and Christmas. So enjoy, have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.